And good morning, YouTube. Did I get that right? YouTube. I guess I did. Anywho, anyhow, anyway, not YouTube. The people that view this channel via YouTube. Let me put it that way. That'd be a more correct statement. Considering, you know, the liberal likes of YouTube and their vast suppression of First Amendment rights of conservatives and gun owners. And I'm going to say it 3 times in a row. Guns, guns, guns. I want to see if the YouTube censors pick up on that and do something about it. Why am I doing that? Because, well, I'm just sick of social media's suppression of First Amendment rights when people disagree with the liberal agenda. Yes, we're on politics this morning, folks. Why? Because I'm sick of what I'm seeing. I'm sick of the suppression of rights of all. You know, the two-faced hypocrisy of the Democrats and the liberals that are currently in office. Oh yeah, that also applies to the Republicans too. Yeah, that's right. I'm after both parties today. I'm after all types. Just reading a lot of stuff last night that aggravated the tar out of me. I got to thinking, you know, all these people do these things, and at the end of the day, what they're doing is they're taking advantage of the common, everyday American, the working class American. You know, the men and the women that get up every morning, you know, and go out the door to work. You know, they work because they need to make a living. They support companies that are striving to build the American economy. And we have to watch this crap show on the news right now over some junk that's not even really impeachable going down and taking place. To myriad other messes that go on. Then you drop down to your state and your local governments. It gets no better. Virginia is under a tyrant governor right now with a tyrant legislature. You know, and it's a smaller group. It's a small enclave, really, that's writing, if you will, and making policy for a larger majority of people. It's just pathetic. It really is. And then there are, I hate to say this, those that are in the business of saving souls that are ripping people off left and right. And I'm going to tie the two together. And I was just skimming articles last night and come across one where there's one prosperity pimp, as I like to call them, because that's what they are. You know, built, I don't know how many hundreds of $1,000s out of their congregation, for the congregation finally said, you know what, enough's enough, and shot them down. And that got me to reading other articles. I think the guy's name is Kenneth Copeland. And watching that interview where the reporter was asking him why he felt he needed airplanes, and, you know, personal private airplanes. Things are just so topsy-turvy right now. It's just not even funny. It made me sick reading the articles last night and looking at the other stuff that's going on in this world we're living in right now. But anyway, folks, I did watch some of the testimony that or statements that were being made by the president's defense team during the impeachment trial. Hats off to his lawyers, because they're giving the Democrats their due diligence back at them tenfold. And then there was the after they come out on breaks and there was the interviews that were taking place there. Just a pathetic job that the House did putting this whole thing together and ramming it through. The fact that, the President's Defense Counsel was not allowed in on any investigation process at all. Rules were made up as they went along. And getting a whole bunch of people caught in lies. But the one that really got me was when they got up there and they replayed the interviews from ABC, of all sources, that ran the article on Hunter Biden. And kind of called into question that, it was really very ironic to be a coincidence that, his daddy went to Ukraine, his daddy went to China, all of a sudden the firm that Hunter Biden was working for all of a sudden got these very lucrative deals. Especially when his son got appointed to that board on that Russian gas and oil company. But the other thing is this deep state keeps getting rooted and smoked out. I've talked about that before, how my opinion of how I think and when I think that the deep state started to root itself into the government. A lot of it started back during the Johnson administration, even the Kennedy administration. But definitively, the architects of what we know as the deep state today, I believe, got firmly footed during the Clinton administration. Not only in the cogs of the government process, but also in our military or national law enforcement levels. And part of that, has come out with the fact that, some of the people that the current president was compelled, for lack of a better word, to hire into his cabinet, other things were nothing more than deep state actors. A lot of that's starting to come to fruition and come to light. And it's not the first time a president has been convinced to hire somebody they don't know to be a cabinet member. Go back to history, look at Grant's administration. Grant was a great general, he was a fighter. He was drunk, he was also a fighter. Ran for president, was elected, but some of the people that he appointed to his cabinet and in positions of prominence and power used it for selfish gain. And at the end of the day, it made Grant look bad. Like I said, so President Trump's not the only one who's ever hired somebody in the cabinet that really didn't know and wasn't really fully vetted by what I call the inner circle. Part of it too is the fact that Trump has brought a lot of people into the inner circle that really don't work in government. That upset a lot of people. And they need to get over it. Some of that disruption was needed because governments are a lot like any other organization or association. After a certain amount of time, people get complacent. Things become, lack of a better term, a status quo, and people are afraid to change. They get the mentality of, that's the way we've always done it here. Well, that doesn't make it the right way to do it here. Churches are the same way. Churches are the same way. They're comprised of people. People are not perfect. I say that to say this, it's just to give you a snapshot of some of the mentality of what's going on in this nation. You You got people in, a case example. I'll give the Lord's Supper as an example. Nowhere in the Bible does it say the Lord's Supper is to be done every Sunday, once a quarter, every 6 months, or once a year. Nowhere does it say the Lord's Supper has to be celebrated on the birth of Christ or on the day he was resurrected. Oh my goodness, old soldier's about to speak sacrilege. No. What I'm pointing out to you are things that man have imposed into God's Word. They're not necessarily a part of the gospel. We as men, humans, develop tradition and rituals, not necessarily in accordance with God's Scripture, and not necessarily in accordance with the laws of the lands which we live in appointed over us. Case and example, down here in Bladen County, North Carolina, I talked about a few weeks ago, where the county commissioner was the town county, I can't remember which one it was, but it was the Board of Elections, that's what it was. And their 5-member panel was having their monthly meeting, and one of them put something on the agenda about saying the Pledge of Allegiance for all future meetings. And the president or chairman of the council and 2 others voted against the measure. Somewhere in the middle of it, one councilman who asked for time, and give them time to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Well, this council member decided, well, if that ever happens again, we're going to call law enforcement because you're disrupting the meeting. Well, you allotted that person time. He felt he did, it was his time to do with what he will. My point being is that even that, the Pledge of Allegiance, is not exactly a necessary ritual to be performed in order to conduct business of a government. Now, her excuse is disruptive, blah, 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 and that there's no need for it when they have their business meeting, I disagree with. But her and her other 2 have the majority rule right now. And until it changes, that's the nature of the beast. Move on. But again, complacency. That's the way we've always done it here. That's the way we'll continue to do it here. How does that happen? People get embedded and they stay for a length of time. Then they teach others the same. That's why I'm using church also as an example. The whole narrative, that's the way we've always done it here, and that's the way we'll always do it here, does not necessarily make it right. Wife and I several years ago went and visited a church with some friends, and it was a Baptist church. I think they were on the Independence Baptist. They might have been Southern. I can't remember. It was so long ago. But we happened to come on a Sunday that they were celebrating the Lord's Supper. And I think that this particular church did it. They did theirs every Sunday, once a month. But we were there visiting, and that was their Sunday they were having the Lord's Supper. And so before the sacraments were presented and passed, the pastor gets up in front of the entire gathering there, the congregation, and said, and just made the bold statement that if you're not a member of this church, please do not partake, because we don't know if you're saved or not. Okay? It's kind of a bold statement to make, especially if you're trying to attract new membership, questioning the validity of whether somebody's saved or not by making that statement. I told my wife after that and our friends, I said, enjoyed the service, but we won't be coming back to visit anymore until y'all get a new pastor. And it's kind of like, yeah, we're thinking about changing churches too, because this particular pastor was disrupting everything there. based on some of the statements like that being made, being, as a pastor, being very judgmental to the members of his congregation on some things, some things spiritual and related to the gospel, some things based on deep-seated traditions that not exactly of the gospel. And why am I saying that? Because that's how, even in the government, things get corrupted and twisted and turned. That's how hidden agendas are formed and presented and moved through. Okay? So we could go back to the Kennedy and Johnson era, and these young, very young, progressive, extremely liberal-minded Democrats got into the inner cogs of the government. And what I'm saying is they were employed by the federal government. They weren't appointed. Because that was something else somebody said, that why didn't they just fire all these people? Well, I told y'all before, and I'll remind you again, that when working for the government, the federal government of the United States, after about 3 years, if you don't step on your foot, or put your foot in your mouth, or do something that's criminal, you could go into the building and take a crap on your boss's desk and claim it as PTSD because you don't like the current president, and all they're going to do is move you to another organization. Because they have to give you a chance of rehabilitation, retraining. And there were agencies that, when I worked on Fort Bragg as a civilian, that were more ran by liberals than conservative-minded people. And how did I know? Because the people that did the least amount of work got the biggest bonuses. How do you know they got a bonus? Well, when people brag, you listen. But then they complained about how they had no money for other things. Because why? That money comes out of their operational budget when they award these things at the end of the year. But yet they would use other words. I'd hear them complain about they didn't have enough paper, they didn't have enough pens, this, that, or the other. But they weren't complaining when they got the bonus. And the sad part about it, the quality of their services was pathetic. I'm not going to get into specifics. I don't work out there anymore. I don't care about them anymore. One of my reasons I quit working for the federal government. And again, it's the same thing in churches. People get, we've always done it here this way like that, and we're not going to change. And they scare people out the door. They're afraid of change. They're afraid of the truth. It's the other thing. That's the other thing. Now, there's a group in the Southern Baptists that don't like a lot of loud music and clapping and shouting in the church. I'm one of those. I think what the Bible states is that church service is supposed to be organized and respectful and worship God. That doesn't mean you don't have music, but I've been to services where the whole thing turns into a rock concert. Not my cup of tea. Because at some point in time, you need to be fed the word. And if all they're doing is playing music over and over and over and constantly, and then you get 10 minutes of the word, there's not a balance there. And I've been to a church one time where people were running up and down the aisles. And that goes to the Holy Ghost, and I'm not going to sit here and make the accusation that somebody, that these people didn't have the Holy Ghost in them. For all I know, they very may well have. But I don't think the Holy Ghost would be acting a fool up and down, running up and down in God's house like that. Just my opinion. I could go on a whole diatribe of other things, talking about just talking in tongues and this stuff and the other. And the reason I say that is just to say this: just like in the government, some people go to church for their own selfish gain. Now I can hear it now. Old soldier, you're really starting to step on some toes. You need to back off and be careful. Well, no, I've got to the point I just don't care. Okay, I'm just going to call it the way I see it and the way I feel it. But there are people that show up in churches every Sunday. And they're like the Pharisees and the Sadducees of old. Look at me, God. Look what I have done for your community, your people. I've given to the poor. I've donated money. I've built this new building for the church. Look at me, God. Thank you for not making me like this piece of trash over here that up until 2 days ago smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day and drank a fifth of booze and had a wife, but he also had 2 girlfriends on the side. Thank you for not making me like him, God. Yeah. Here's one that gets me too. And this really hits when I think about it is that, well, I'm Mrs. So-and-so. My husband is the chairman of the deacon board. Or my husband is the associate pastor. Or my husband is the youth minister. Or even the husband that goes to say that my wife is in charge of the choir. She does this with the youth. She does that with the children. She's this and she's that. I don't even get what I think about women who claim to be pastors. I got my own beliefs about that too. And if that bothers anybody, don't watch. I don't care. I just know what my Bible has taught me. I'm not saying women are not important in the church. They absolutely are. They have a reason for being there. But to be behind a pulpit, I'm not 100% behind that. If y'all ever want to talk about that one day, just let me know down in the comment section below. But for right now, the whole thing is the tie that even to the government, people get into position just to be, a celebrity. AOC is a good example. That dingbat needs to go get a mental evaluation and also a competency evaluation, because wherever she went to college, I don't know how she passed. Some of the things she says just scares the living daylights out of me. But she's the pretty girl of the Democratic ultra-liberal left that is getting out there and making her way known. Anyway, folks, I have stammered on long enough. I'm just kind of irritated this morning, just reading in it, and seeing what's going on. Didn't mean to take it out on y'all this morning per se, but I just need to get that off my chest. And that being said, I got to go in here and get ready to teach students. Learn them a thing or two about introduction to maintenance procedures. So until tomorrow, folks, God bless, take care. All the charities I ask you to support and all the business I ask you to support, all the links are down below. Check them out. And I will talk to y'all tomorrow. God bless, take care. Old Soldier out.